Yo, I am joined with my man Lucas Mack. Nice
What's
to
up, family?
thank you for taking the time out of your day. Of course, it's Sunday over there in Los Angeles, where you're now living, right, bro?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, bro. Thank you for having me on here. I'm excited to just jump in and talk our shit and see where it goes.
Yeah, me too. It's basically how this started. Like the name of the show is Some of My Favorite People because when we were on our very first lockdown over here in New Zealand, I was had all this time to fill, and I saw all my homies all around the world in the same situation. So I just wanted to reach out to my favorite people and be like, "Yo, what's up, man? How you doing?" And now, obviously, here in New Zealand, we're living pretty good comparatively. But you over there in LA, what's the situation?
Well, so I'm in Los Angeles and it's currently locked down. But I don't know what the media has been portraying it, what lockdown's like, but lockdown in Los Angeles is you can fly around the US. You can go anywhere, do anything you want. Like the beaches are packed here in Los Angeles. People are out and about. At the beach, no one's wearing masks. They're just doing their thing. It's life as normal. But when you go into like shopping centers and stuff like that, obviously you've got to wear your mask and you've got to be mindful of like social distancing. Um, but beyond that, for your average person, that's just walking around the street. They're just living life, you know. I think where it's really affected people is the economy, so like businesses, and then also people's loved ones that they've been, you know, losing or getting sick, especially the elderly. But yeah, and also clubs and festivals aren't open here in the States, which impacts a lot of artists and musicians and stuff like that. But life is blessed, bro. For me personally, life is blessed, and yeah, I just roll with it. You know, we just got to adapt in these times and do our best. So
I love that
that's what it
attitude.
is.
I love that attitude because it is sad times, man. I read yesterday in the newspaper over here, like globally, 2 million people have died from COVID now, and America's leading the way with that. But you're right. Like we as individuals have the ability to some degree, at least, how do we react physically, emotionally? What choices do we make? How do we fill up our time? What are we doing for our own mental health and well-being?
Yeah,
Uh, in spite of the environments we find ourselves in, huh?
I think so. I think it's all about mindset because we all know that like living in a state of fear weakens your immune system, right? And there's so much fear being propagated out there, but there's not so much talk on what we can do to, you know, boost our immune systems, to take care of our physical, mental, emotional health. And I think like that's where the conversation should be about empowering people to do what they need to do to take their power back. And in these times of uncertainty, to trust yourself and know that you've got this, you know, and you might not have it all figured out and have all the answers, but you can just be working on yourself on the daily through your practices, through whatever resonates to fill up your own cup and work on a positive mindset while looking at what's really going on, you know, like not ignoring it or not blanking like blanket statement with positivity, but going into like the darkness, really looking at it, but choosing to create positive change within yourself in any given moment with your mindset, with your practices, because, bro, it's happening regardless. We can't control it. So all we can do is control, like you said, the way we react to it.
I love that. So we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. I met you, I don't even know, down here in Auckland some years back, maybe 10 years ago or some shit.
Yeah.
Um, just through Muay Thai. You wanted to smash some pads and you were tattooing and
Yeah, before that, you were like very influential in my life. So you don't even know, but like you and say Dan Smith and a whole bunch of other people were people that I looked up to because you were in the scene, you were tattooed, you were out and about, you were just speaking your truth. You weren't afraid to be yourselves. And I was really drawn to the aspect of like freedom that you had, that I saw that you had attained within yourself by just you being fully you, right? Because I was always shy as a kid. I didn't really want to put myself out there like that. So when I saw it, like, you know, your crew just fully being them, I was really inspired by that. And then to see where you guys took things, that was a huge inspiration for me growing up. And I really adapted that, like what I saw you all you do, and then just took it on myself to just be like, fuck it. I can be myself. I can speak my truth. I can put myself out there. I can get heavily tattooed. I can do whatever I want to do because they're doing it, you know?
yo, I never knew that. I feel humble because you're doing big things, man. Thanks for telling me that. Um, well, you started down here and now you're over there. Why don't you fill in the blanks for anyone who unfamiliar with your story? Because I just knew you was this kid who was tattooing, and then you're doing some music, and now you're working with like Travis Barker with your breath work. So why don't you walk us through some of those steps? Like what led you to perhaps maybe the practice of breath work, which I guess is what a lot of your following might know you for.
Yeah. Well, I'll start at the beginning. So I grew up in Massey in West Auckland, and yeah, growing up for me was blessed. Mum was super supportive, and I was really creative as a kid. I was like an empath, bro. So I could feel everyone's emotions around me. I could feel all their pain. I could sense their thoughts and their feelings. Dad was a free spirit, um, rode motorcycles, grew marijuana, a bit of a rebel. And mum was the opposite. She was more, she was into books and poetry and quite soft. And um, yeah, my mum's like a little elf. She's like this tiny little lady, and she's really sensitive and she's really loving. And dad was a little bit more ferocious, a little bit more free within himself. So growing up in my household, yeah, there was a lot of alcohol, a lot of drugs, a lot of self-destructive behaviors from dad. He didn't really know how to deal with his emotions. He didn't feel or process his emotions in a healthy way. It was violence and drugs and alcohol. So growing up, I was aware of all my dad's pain and then also mum's pain. So I felt it all as a kid, and I didn't know how to process it. And then my father committed suicide when I was 7 years old. He shot
Oh,
himself.
yo.
And that was a big catalyst for me for change in my life, because at that time in my life, I didn't know how to process that, because even though my dad was violent and there was different things happening in the house, he was also represented safety to me. So when he left, it was like my safety was gone, and I was an only child. So on some level, I feel like I had to just man up and help mum through her traumas that were coming up for her after dad died. So life was really strange, because on the outside, I was just doing what I was doing as any normal kid. But on the inside, I was like struggling hardcore and suffering. Um, I remember having panic attacks from a really young age, where mum would like rush me to the hospital, and no one really knew what was happening in those moments. But it was just that I was overwhelmed by everything I could feel. I could feel so much as a kid of, like I said, other people's emotions around me. And then, yeah, obviously growing up in West Auckland, it's like seeing friends commit suicide and
Mm.
overdose and all the different things that happen. It's just, sadly, it's a part of culture in New Zealand, you know.
Mm.
And obviously when we don't have the tools growing up, we don't know how to deal with certain things. So we turn to whatever vice it might be to help us get through that. So growing up and seeing all of that, and seeing people that I love struggle and commit suicide, and just being in a really dark place, and then myself going through deep anxiety and depression and not wanting to be on this planet for a long, long time, I was just drawn to different modalities that started to make me feel my emotions. So I started working with like traditional Māori healers that did deep healings, where they get into your fascia, they get into the body, and they start doing deep work and start bringing up all these old emotions that have been stored in the body. So when I got into tattooing, um, and I started tattooing at 18, I was on the outside, like I was in a really good place, but internally I was still carrying a lot of childhood trauma of things that I've went through. I was still into having depression and anxiety attacks, and I needed to find a way to work through that. Otherwise, I was going to self-destruct and just be on my father's path, you know, which was pretty much heading in that direction. So yeah, I started working with these traditional Māori healers, and then started feeling my feelings for the first time, and started to move through all the shit that I buried, bro.
Gotta feel it to heal it, right?
Yeah, for
Yo,
sure.
that shit's hard, man. I didn't know that about you. You know what's trippy, man? Like I've done a few of these now. I think you're in my 19th or 20th interview.
Right.
And generally it's people I know pretty well. Or not pretty well, but we're friends. And this is always like the story you're telling me is a common story, not just because of Aotearoa New Zealand, but what I'm figuring out is that people who have similar backgrounds, we find ourselves through space and time, right? Like we find each other, we find our tribe of people who we resonate with you know, because, you know, I've talked about it heaps. My father's like depressive. I have abuse and alcoholism and all that stuff running through my family history too. And so for
Mm.
you to tell me that, I'm like, oh shit, no wonder we vibe across like,
Yeah.
I don't know, not the astral plane, but like
Yeah.
we connected as soon as we met, like a lot of people I know. I think that I think that's interesting in that that can be a great and amazing thing because you find your people, but at the same time it can be, you know, in relationships it can be, unless you know how to unless you know how to deal with yourself, and it can be like a re-traumatizing thing, or you can link into the wrong people, the right, maybe the right people but with the wrong patterns, and then you're redoing that shit. Did and so
Yeah.
as you're growing up, did you find yourself in sort of recreating those cycles of your
Yeah.
father and your mother's relationship at all?
Of course, yeah, I was exactly on my father's path. Like I said, I was self-destructing really quick. So, yeah, just being silly, like a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, getting into the wrong situations with the wrong people continuously. That was leading me down a path of, nothing positive was going to come from that path. And yeah, there was like a breaking point for me where I remember I had been arrested maybe like 20 something times.
Oh
And
yeah.
community service for doing years at a time doing community service, but I'd never been like sent to jail. And I remember one judge on one case, it was like a long case that lasted a few years, and I remember him, he gave me like probation and all these different things, and then at the end of it he said something to me that I'll never forget. He said something like, "You're a menace to society, and if I see you in here again, you're going straight to jail." And for some reason it just like it sunk in that that's the path that I was going on. And then I remember my uncle sitting me down after that, and he was like, "Hey, you're at a point right now. Like there's a fork in the road. You could keep going down this path, and you know where it's going to lead, or you could choose something else, and it's up to you, And whatever you choose is on you. And I'm going to support you either way. But it's like this is what's up." And I remember him sitting me down, and it just all started to click. I was like, okay, I understand my actions, what I've been doing is leading me down a certain path. I understand I'm co-creating my own reality. If I'm co-creating this based on the patterns that, dad, I was in, what I watched dad do, and now I have a chance to undo that and to choose something else. It's what do I choose, and what do I want to choose, and what lights me up. So it was an empowering moment where I felt like I had the ability to change and to create change and to choose something new in my life. And that's what I did. But it wasn't an easy path. It didn't just happen overnight.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So for me, that sort of path makes me think, oh, so you went to therapy or you went to like NA, or like what were the tangible practical steps that you started taking?
Well, I always had this like internal awareness, this thought process. Even when I was doing bad shit, I knew that I was doing bad shit, and I knew that wasn't the path that I was meant to be on. Like instead of some of the other homies, that was the path they were meant to be on, and they loved it. They were just into it. They got energy. They were fueled by it. I wasn't fueled by it. It was like I was doing it because it was like you said, I was recreating the same patterns that my father had created. But there was always this voice in the back of my head that was saying, "That's not your path, bro. That's not what you
Mm.
should be doing." So I was aware of that. And then I just kept listening to it, my intuition. Started really tapping into my intuition. And then, like I said, starting working with traditional Māori healers that could help me feel my emotions, all the shit that I suppressed. So there was a lot of anger, a lot of rage, a lot of guilt, a lot of sadness, a lot of frustration. And I just started to move those stuck emotions from my body bit by bit, session by session. And it wasn't like rainbows and butterflies. It was messy and cathartic, and it was all the feels. But what it started to do is it started to free me from the bonds of suffering from the past. Like I was
Mhm.
able to release the past from my system, and past, like we talk about generational trauma being handed down. So everything that I experienced as a kid, that in the moment I didn't have the tools, or it wasn't safe to feel my emotions or to process what was happening because I was in survival. I was able to really feel and then move that out of my system so I could see clearly. so I could tap into my intuition, I could understand what I wanted for my life, and I could start creating it. And that was the journey, and I
Wow.
just went with it.
And that led you to Bali, huh? That's where you started studying breathwork.
Yeah, that was the first place I started studying breathwork. So I didn't intentionally want to study breathwork. I just kind of stumbled upon it. Like at the time, I was studying different modalities. I was transitioning out of tattooing. I'd been tattooing for over 10 years. And what I started noticing is that it's kind of like being in a barber shop. When you're in a tattoo shop and you're in pain and you're sitting in a chair for a long time, you just talk about your life and what you're going through. So people were talking to me openly and candidly. There was no filters. And I was realizing that even just my presence, just through listening to people's stories and stuff like that, was helping people to process and feel and heal what they needed to. And they would always leave feeling like, oh, they feel really good, you know, like they've really processed some shit. So I took notice of that, and I wanted to take it deeper. And I didn't know how I would take it deeper or what I would do. So I started studying different modalities, many different alternative modalities that were really helpful for me on a personal level, because they helped me understand like the human journey and the psyche and physiology and different things. But it was never the one. I was never like, this is the one that I'm going to run with. This is the one that I'm going to use, until I found breathwork. And that was really trippy, because my partner, Hellè, she was like, hey, there's this thing called breathwork, and it's not meditation, and it's not daily breathing techniques for health and well-being. It's something totally different. They're saying that you can release trauma and heal. And I had a lot of resistance to going to it, because I already had like a deep meditation practice. I was already studying trauma, and I just thought it was like some bullshit, to be honest. And then when I went to this class, there was maybe about 30 people in a room, and it was an instructor from the States that had come over to Bali. And it was a really different experience. It was like, from the moment I got in the room, it was like shit just got real. It wasn't spiritual. It wasn't woo woo or anything like that. Like, he was talking about trauma. He was talking about real life shit. And then we went into my first ever breathwork session, and I'd never experienced anything like it sober. It was honestly like, for me, I was being like on magic mushrooms or something like that. So I was entering into this altered state. I could feel a lot of energy in my body. I was crying, I was laughing, I was understanding things about my life from a different perspective, from this more expanded perspective. And I was having this cathartic release of just letting go. And my father actually came in that session, and he spoke to me, and he said, it was never yours to hold on to, my son. It was never yours to hold on to. And as he was saying that, I was crying and releasing and letting go. And I'd been doing a lot of work, internal work at that point, but this was very different. This was like a direct experience of me working on myself on a level that I'd never been able to achieve before. And then as soon as I came out of that session, I just knew like this was the modality that I needed to study, and I needed to learn everything that I could about it. And then I needed to take it to my people and show them what's up. And then, bro, that's what I did. That began the journey of like years of studying and figuring it out.
Yeah, because you offered me a session when you happened to be back here in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, and I was like, all right, I'm not cynical, but I'm a skeptic, I suppose. I'm like, what's the science behind this? Like, show me the research. But yo, do you remember that session? I was freaking the fuck out. Like, so many feelings were coming up, and like, I was vibrating. Like, if you're watching this and this sounds woo-woo, I thought that was kind of woo, but I was crying. Like, all this fucking pain was just pouring out of me. And I still don't have words to really explain the profoundness of the experience that Lukis guided me through. But it really helped me put down a lot of emotional wounding that I've carried around for a long time. What is the science behind that? Because I know it's real. And like I said, I'm a kind of skeptical person, and I need a degree of like literature or whatever. So if someone like out there is watching this and they're like, breathwork, what's the deal with it? How does it work?
Yeah, so breathwork works on many different components. One of them is your nervous system. So there's different breathwork techniques for different things. So, for example, for athletes, it's a beautiful way to optimize your performance and recovery. So you're either activating the sympathetic nervous system, and that's more of an energizing and active breath that you could do before a workout, um, or in the afternoon when you're tired, or for recovery after a workout, you want to be doing a really slow type of breath work in and out your nose, and that activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is, it's all about rest and digest and healing. Um, but when you're doing that's like a daily practice. But when you're doing the deeper work, one of the first things that starts to happen is you start to activate your limbic brain. And your limbic brain is the center of memory and emotion. So as you activate more of your limbic brain, you stimulate more of it, you start to feel memories and feelings that have been suppressed and buried down. They just naturally start to come up to the surface. And you're also accessing your subconscious mind, which is anywhere between 95 to 97% of your mind. So think of it like a memory bank of everything that you've ever been through, and it's all there. And we're so busy externally focused that we don't give ourselves a chance to even go into that operating system and start to clear it out and start to release what's been suppressed within our own system. So there's an element of, activating the limbic brain, activating your nervous system. We're also shifting your brain waves, because in everyday life, we're in beta brain waves, which is your analytical thinking mind. That's how we operate. That's how we think. That's how we do tasks. But when you do breath work, you start to move into like a relaxed state of theta brain waves, which just means you're more relaxed and you're more easily, you can more connect to your intuition, and you're just chilling. So that's a little bit of how the breath work works, but it works on like many different levels. But basically what it's doing is your body is converting your breath into energy, and then you're using that energy to go internal and to focus on what you need to feel and process and release from your system. And there's a component of working on the fascia system, which is like a network, a web of, fascia that's all between our muscles that holds tension and stress in the body. So as you breathe and as you feel, your body starts to eliminate all that stress and tension and everything being held in your body, and you're releasing it, you're clearing it, you're letting it go. And then there's energetic lines that run all through your body. In Chinese medicine, they're called meridian lines. And these meridian lines can become blocked or disturbed through emotional stress or trauma. And in the breath work, we're starting to move energy and clear it out, like clear the pathways. And you do feel a lot of energy in your body. And for someone who's never experienced it, it can be very hard to understand, because you're like, what do you mean I feel a lot of energy? Like, it doesn't really make sense. It's just words. But when you're lying down and you're doing breath work for 60 to 90 minutes, you do start to feel a lot of energy in your body, and you do start to feel emotions, and you start to process and move through things. And it can be very cathartic for a lot of people. And it's all about feeling safe to feel the different sensations, feeling safe to breathe deeply and feel your emotions, and give yourself permission to go through the process. Because I think a lot of us, we're scared of the unknown. We're scared of what we understand. And we're scared of feeling our feelings. With like men, we've been taught to suppress
Toughen
how we
up,
truly.
man up, suck it up, boys don't cry. We still have that shit. I mean, it is changing. The conversation is started, the last couple of years, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but we have a long way to go to particularly help brothers step outside of that box, that constructed idea that a man has to be tough and hold it all together all the time.
Because I found it's a superpower, bro, to feel your emotions. Because once you learn how to process your emotions properly on a real level, you can start to clear out and release what is no longer yours. And once you do that, you empty out of all the bullshit, and then you're more connected. You're more connected to yourself. You're more connected to like your family, your friends, your loved ones. There's no like armor around your heart. You're not trying to protect yourself, or you're not trying to be anything that you're not. You're just you, and you're just here, and you're living in the present moment, and you're not dictated by all the past pain and hurts and everything that you've been through.
That's beautiful. I also think it helps you be less reactive. Like, we kind of look at the world through this lens of past experience. It colors everything, and often it can be negative lens that they're experiencing life through. But once we fucking strip that back, you know, we can make much better decisions from a healed place. I know that might sound a bit corny, but do you know
Well,
what I'm
no,
saying?
it's true, man, because most people are living in survival. And when you're in survival, you're in fight or flight and you're
All
running
the
on the
time.
hormones of stress. And when you're running on the hormones of stress, you're just going to be constantly reacting to things. You're not centered, you're not clear. So you don't have a level head. You're just reacting. And most people are living in that constantly because work, family life, stress, is just so much going on for them. But you can move out of survival and you can move into thriving with the right tools. And that's what it's about. Because like you said, then you get to react from a whole different place. It's not from a trigger that's inside you that you're projecting out onto someone else. You're able to process it in the moment and then come back with whatever you want to say from a calm or collective place.
Yeah.
Rather than from that really amped up, triggered kind of energy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still working on that. Like, I can articulate this with you now, but I still will be challenged in some aspect of life and
Of course.
act badly or think badly or carry anger and rage and hurt around inside of myself. I think the difference now is that I notice it and I can express, hey, I'm in this space right now. I need some time to process it. I need to go see my therapist. I need to go do some exercise. Like, I do need to incorporate practices like breathwork and meditation into my life. My partner, she's got a daily meditation practice, teaches meditation. She's really good at that mindful awareness and comes from that place a lot of the time. That's something I'm still working on developing.
Well,
But
it's like you said, it's just awareness, right? It's having the awareness to know how you're feeling. It's like, hey, I'm really pissed off right now. I'm really triggered. I don't want to project this onto you. Give me a few minutes to really feel what's going on here. Or I need to go do a workout or go for a run or go for a walk, whatever it is. But it's like, rather than just projecting it onto other people, it's like taking responsibility for how you feel and then learning how to shift that energy.
yeah, I like that. Taking responsibility for how you feel, right? Because a lot of us don't. Like, we just blame them. It's their fault. This happened. It's the world. It's my shitty childhood, whatever. And we've always got someone to blame for where we might be in life or how we feel or we feel. But like we started the conversation with, yo, that shit's happened. That shit will always happen. This is always going to be the world. Are we going to be furious and miserable our whole lives? Is breath work a daily practice for you?
Yeah, every single day. So I'll do breath work and then I'll go into a meditation, but it's not like a traditional meditation. My meditation might be closing my eyes and moving my body. So if I'm on the beach or something like that, I might just move my body intuitively, how I feel, connecting to my body, whatever way I want. I might use my voice. I might sit there listening to a song and I might start rapping along to the song, singing to the song, closing my eyes and just being present in the moment with how I'm feeling, sensations in my body, emotions and stuff like that. Or if I want to do a traditional type of meditation, usually it's guided. So I'll wear headphones and it will be someone's voice guiding me through a process. And I'll usually do some breath work during that meditation. But yeah, for me, it's every single day, and it helps me to empty out my subconscious of all the shit that I'm taking in on a daily basis. I empty out all the crap that's there, that's swirling around in my mind, and then I allow myself to just connect to my intuition, and I ask myself questions like about, business, relationships, what I'm going through, why I'm feeling what I'm feeling, what did it, and I just start to understand myself on that level. So for me, it's just a way to process. It's a way to tune into my internal world and create that deep relationship with myself. And for me, it's a game changer, bro. I don't think that I'd be where I am without that.
Yeah. Well, you talk about music, rapping along on a beach, but you are also recording music and releasing hip hop. And you're also working, like we said, with some huge celebrities in America right now. How did you start hooking up with people like Jake Paul and Travis Barker? How did that eventuate?
It's all just a series of synchronicities and events. So obviously, like, Okay, so in my meditation practice, I'll take it back to this because this is a really cool thing for anyone who wants to manifest anything in their reality. If you're into manifestation, then you can use this. If you don't believe in it, then that's cool, you won't use it. But for those people who do, you can, in your meditation practice, this is what I do. I figure out who I want to work with, and I have a strong why. Like, it's not, I want to work with them because they're famous. I want to work with them because they've been through these life events, and I know that on some level I can help them with what I see I can help them with, and I understand where my place is in that person's life. And then I start to see it as if it's already happened in the moment, celebrating it as if it's already happened, and then I surrender it. So I do that every single day, where I charge up certain things that I want to create and I send it out and I surrender it. And then on the 3D physical world, how it manifests is it's unbelievable. Like it truly is. So for example, with Logan Paul and Jake Paul, we ran a workshop here in Los Angeles when we first got here. And Logan Paul came to the workshop with his film crew, with a whole bunch of people, and they experienced the workshop and had an awesome time and really enjoyed it. And then they invited myself and my partner Hellè out to their house to do private sessions with him and his whole team. So we started working with him privately, and it was cool. It was like a really dope experience because those boys are so young, man. They're like in their 20s and they're multimillionaires, and they didn't come from money. You know, they came from working class families, you know, that struggled to a certain extent, and they came out of that struggle to create what they created. So it was really inspiring for me coming from New Zealand, just seeing from what an early age they had created. And then through Logan, I met his brother, Jake Paul, and started doing private sessions with Jake. And yeah, it's always through word of mouth that these things happen. Once you're in someone's field and they have a really positive experience with breathwork and it impacts them on a high level, then they're going to recommend it to their friends or their family. So it's, for me, that's why I'm out in LA, because it's a beautiful place for me to network and get this work out here. There's still so many people that don't even know what it is. It's very like foreign to them. They know about breathwork through Wim Hof or daily breathwork practices for health and well-being, but they don't know about the full extent of how you can really heal childhood traumas and move through things and release a lot of stress and tension very easily through this modality. So yeah, and that was the same thing with Travis Barker. It was through like I was actually through Dan Smith, bro.
Okay, oh yeah,
check this out. So I did a session for Dan Smith, and afterwards we were talking about Calabasas. It's like one of the richest hoods in LA. It's crazy. It's gated communities, mansions on mansions on mansions. And he was telling me that he spends a bit of time out there. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And he was like, yeah, I see one of my friends, I've been out there spending time with Travis. And automatically my mind went to Travis Barker. And I was like, do you mean Travis Barker? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, guess what, bro? I messaged him yesterday. I emailed him. I know it was never going to get through, but I just had to put it out there anyway, because I know what he's been through with his plane crash and that he's been through in his life. And I know on some level I can create positive change in his life, and here's how I can do it. And I told Dan Smith, and he said, okay, I'll reach out to him and I'll let him know. That morning I woke up and Travis Barker had followed me and started messaging me.
Oh, yo.
We just started talking.
That's the good side of the internet. Because I've had this real thing lately where the internet's sick and it's sickening, right? But that's also the positives that we have to remember. That you're using it to help heal people.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like putting it out there first and then surrendering it, not being attached. Like it may happen, it may not happen, but I know my why. It's a big why. And then if it comes, it comes. And it always does. It just happens in a way that your mind can't like comprehend.
Yeah, wow.
So that's what I'm out here doing, and just kind of, I'm going all the way in, where I'm just saying, fuck it. Like, this is what I'm here to do. I'm here to create a massive positive impact on the planet in my own way through sharing this work. And my goal is to get it out to as many people as possible. And through celebrities and influencers is a really good way to do that, because obviously they have a bigger reach than I do. So if they have a good time, a good experience, you know, they might be likely to share it with their audience, their people, and then more people get exposed to it.
Yeah, I
So
love that. Because I know, I like knowing you, I know that you would do this work irrespective of if we were talking about, household names or not, like, because you genuinely want to heal people. But I think that's a really, I think that's a really cool approach using modern tools, quote unquote influencers, to help share these ancient traditions that really do help people in this time of great need, right? Like people are locked down all around the planet. And here is breath work, which requires just some training and some dedication. And you can work through so much existential suffering, right?
yeah, really quickly. So
Really quickly. Yeah. Yeah. Like you can really put down some stuff. It's kind of like I was thinking about it when we are talking because I've been in talk therapy with psychologists forever. And that's been really helpful for me. But it's long and it takes a long time. And I'm looking at all these root causes of who I am and why I am. And I feel like something I'm kind of vaguely learning lately is that we can shortcut the healing by skipping our head and going straight to the heart almost. Is
yeah,
that
straight
do,
to the body, because suppressed emotions are held in the body. But what
yeah.
you're doing is great for cultivating awareness and understanding, so you can understand people on a deeper level because you understand yourself and what's led to the way you are and the way you behave and the actions that you take, and then based on that you can relate it to other people. So
Mm.
it's like it opens up this great awareness that you have, and you're really good with people, bro. Like I think that's one of your strong points is you can meet people where they're at and people feel safe in your presence and you're real and people feel that, so they feel safe enough to like talk and open up and express things that they might not want to with another person. So I think all the work that you're doing on yourself through the talk therapy translates to real results of.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. But I do like what you're saying with breath work is that it is quick. It's quicker, like
Yeah,
it's a way that people can really work through and get some of that wounding out and not have to carry that around on their shoulders anymore.
yeah. But the
Uh,
way to look at it too is like some people will they'll know what they're processing and releasing in the moment in the breathwork journey.
mm,
It was when I was 7 years old. My father committed suicide. This is how I felt afterwards. Blah, blah, blah. The layers go on and on and on. And some people will consciously be aware of that as they're processing it, as they're moving it from their body in the session. And some people will just be laughing and crying or very angry during a session. They won't know why they feel the way they do. They just know that they're feeling it. It's coming up, but they're
mm.
processing it, they're moving through it, and they're releasing it. And they walk away and they're just like, I don't know what happened, but I feel so much better. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
Jump
human mind
over.
loves to like attach to stories and understand things and dissect things and all of that. But yeah, with breath work, you are getting out of the mind to a certain component and into the body, and you're just moving that old energy that's been stuck and you're just liberating yourself from it. And whether you understand it or you don't, it doesn't really matter because it's just all just energy in motion, and you will feel so much better.
I love that. How do people who aren't in LA learn from you and Hellè, your partner? Because Hellè teaches breathwork too, huh? You guys do this together as
Yeah,
a
yeah.
unified, beautiful thing.
My partner Hal is a wizard. She's like studied so many different modalities, and yeah, she's a wizard. And then we have our business partner Victoria, who's in Canada, that we work with, and we have a website called awaken.com. So it's awaken with an O, and you can go on our website and you can start a daily practice for free. We give you all the instructions, you can download it, and you can just start today. And it's a 5-minute breathwork practice that's been designed to give you all the health benefits that you need, but also help you connect into your own inner guidance, which in these times is really powerful because there is a lot of external stresses and unknown. And it's just a simple daily 5-minute practice of dropping into your intuition and asking yourself simple questions.
I love that. I love that you're giving it away for free because I imagine there are a lot of people out there who think that you're just doing it for the celebrity and the followers and the cash, but that just seems to be a byproduct of your genuine desire to help people.
I'm interested in shifting culture. I'm interested in when I'm out here in LA, I get super inspired because I think of all the people that have had an impact in culture. And then I realize like, hold on a minute, like what if some of the most influential people in culture started making healing dope, started making feeling
Yeah.
or emotions dope, and it was cool to do that? And then how would the youth like show up. If everyone was just open about how they felt and they took responsibility and they were like, yeah, I work with a healer, yeah, I work with a therapist, it's cool, it's dope, then that changes everything. So that's what I'm interested in creating.
Yo, I fucking love that. That's so inspiring. I'm trying to figure that shit out too, because I speak in schools and all this shit about masculinity and healthy manhood and stuff. It's hard to try and show like healthy male role models to young boys and men. Like it's
Yeah.
still there. I mean, they're out there. Don't get me wrong. Like there are really famous men who can talk about their emotions now and talk about their experiences, mental health and trauma. But still, if you're listening to like top 50 Spotify, all the messaging is like bitches, hoes, money, cars, violence, porn is still the main source of sex education, and there's no spirituality or talk about consent or kindness or respect. And it's, like men fucking women aggressively, and there's like the humanity stripped back from, I don't give a fuck if people want to sleep around, but you know what I'm saying, and I don't know. I struggled. Like, how do you make being a conscious human cool? And you've kind of like, fuck it, I'm gonna go to LA and try my best. That's amazing. That's
I think it's like a process. So what I see from different like rappers and different people behind the scene, that they have their front, like how what you said, like that's the way they act, that's the way they are in the public and on their records and stuff like that. But behind the scenes, they're actually doing a lot of inner work and they're doing different things. That's what I see in LA anyway. I don't know where other places in the US.
I wonder how does that translate into culture though? You know what I mean? Because it's dope that they're doing that behind the scenes, but that's not what our young people are consuming. And young people are looking for fucking role models, man. Like I don't even blame parents anymore because everyone's working like long ass hours and they can't be with their kids as much as really they need to be. And kids take all their cues from society and what their friends are doing and what their homies are doing. And we're social animals and we want to fit in. And if fitting in means doing really unhealthy shit, which we all did growing up, I wish some of our social influences were better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I think it's just a matter of timing. So I feel that there's a shift happening on this planet it's unfolding naturally. People are becoming more aware. They're asking more questions. It's a product of seeing all the bullshit out there and knowing that on some level we want to do better. This is not what we want for like the planet. This isn't what we not want for like the animals or the people and stuff like that. And then certain people that are more service to self and they have their own agendas, they're going to have an awakening too. At a certain point, they're going to become more aware and more open. And I believe that that's just happening naturally. And there will be like a crossover where you see celebrities, you see influencers, you see creatives and musicians change up their lyrical content. I believe that's going to happen. And it's just a matter of timing. And that's what I talk about when culture shifts. And that's not like a quick thing, because it's like we're talking about changing programming, like deep generational programming and trauma and ways of seeing like the world. But it's gonna happen. Like whether it happens in my generation or in my lifetime or not, I don't know. But I know that it's happening because I see it and I feel it, and I work with a lot of people behind the scenes that show me that things are changing. That's not what they might express to their fan base, but I see behind the scenes like them becoming more aware, more open, more connected. And I know that that's going to translate at a certain period. There's going to be this crossroad where they're showing more of themselves, their authentic selves.
Yeah.
They're talking about the things that they're doing behind the scenes. They aren't all the material, flashy shit. They're like, this is what we're doing. And they're going to have people. Because this is what I noticed in LA. Every single like influencer and celebrity and person out there, they all have their go-to therapist, or they all have their go-to healer, or they all have their go-to thing. And that work's been done behind the scenes, like we said. And what I'm talking about is like bringing it to the forefront, which shows that it's cool to do it. And I think that just happens with one person at a time. Like a certain person, like a famous person, shows that they're doing, say, a breathwork session, and they were able to heal different aspects of themselves. If they speak about that, that's one person that will have a ripple effect and then another person does it, another ripple effect. And I think it's going to be slow. It's going to take time, but bro, that's why I'm out here. And that's why there's a lot of people that are choosing to do these different healing modalities at this time on the planet, because we know that there's a shift taking place and we want to be a part of it. And it's happening regardless. It's happening anyway. So it's all about tapping in and doing things in a way that inspires you to add positivity to the world. And for every single person that's on a service to self path at the moment, that's cool too, because that's where I was at a certain point in time of my journey. And for all those people, like, it's nothing but love and respect. And I just know that they're on their own journey. And at a certain time, they're going to switch. They're going to have, their awareness is going to open, and they're going to share like more service-based stuff to all their fans and followers, because it's what will light them up. They'll get fueled from it. And I know that's coming, bro, for sure, because the other way is empty. It's really empty. Like materialism and just being flashy, like, yeah, it's cool for a moment. But when you're in bed alone at night, like, that's not what fulfills you or lights you up. It's real human connection that we all desire. It's to be loved and accepted. And everyone has those basic needs. So I think that that's the shift. It's like when people become more aware of, what their followers are wanting, what they want to put out there, and then it starts to change.
You're very optimistic, huh?
Well, I just, bro, I see it. Like, so I see all like the negativity and I see all the bullshit, but I know that that's meant to be that way. Like, it couldn't be any other way, because like if we go like super woo-woo and spiritual, like, if everything's a product of God, right? If we're a product of God, darkness is a product of God, light. So the most negative shit is a product of God. The most positive, loving shit is a product of God. So if it's all a product of God, then it's all meant to be. It all is how it is. But it is like gonna shift. Things are gonna change, because service to self people that are here to manipulate people or take power from people or to trick people or do what they can to get something from someone, at a certain point in time, you realize that journey is empty, and you realize it's not the path that fulfills you ultimately. It's a fuel system that's very limited, like love, joy, connection. And that's the real fuel system that humanity desires and wants. So we're programmed and conditioned for separation and to be in fear, and all these different programs that are playing out on the planet. But ultimately, at the end of the day, every single human being desires love. And
I tried to articulate this the other day, with after what happened on Capitol Hill, like the internet seems to like be just dominated by polarized voices. Because I think about things in, I guess, a really kind of structured political way, which is increasingly, I'm sick of thinking like that. I'm trying to learn from people like yourself about, well, yeah, sure, we can talk about like Marxism and capitalism and all these different things, but ultimately it strikes me that whether you're on the far left or the far right and you're moving towards physical violence and all these really socially destructive, socially corrosive things that are emerging, it's actually a massive underlying emotional, spiritual hurt and wound that you share as humans, irrespective of the ideology that you put on top of it, right?
Most definitely. Yeah, we've been like, it's divide and conquer, right? Like, we've
Yeah.
been taught to be separate and to there's my belief system against your belief system, my ego against your ego, you're wrong, I'm right, and so on and so on. But it's like, all of that's of the mind, right? It's just like, it's my beliefs against your beliefs, my program against your programming. It's like, no one wins in that, because the way you see the world is totally different to the way I see the world. And for every single person out there, we're all seeing the world through our own lens, through our own conditioning, through what we believe, and our belief systems are all different. So I think what it comes down to is like common mutual love and respect for one another. And you don't have to agree with someone to like love and respect them. Right?
I know, but increasingly it seems like you're meant to, like, cancel culture and like, that's a bad idea, or they said a stupid thing, or blah, 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 or this, or whatever, excommunicated from polite society. Or people like not hanging out with their family anymore because, I don't know, maybe they voted for Donald Trump, or whatever, or they're cops, you know, and they're dead to me now. And that just strikes me as making the world worse, not better. Like if you want to shift someone belief system or expose them to new ideas, you actually have to sit alongside them rather than excommunicate them and push them further away, huh?
Yeah, 100%. Because it's like, it's crazy, but like we're all projecting our own wounds on each other, right? So we're all projecting the trauma and the things that we haven't resolved on us and ourselves on other people constantly, whether that's in our loving relationships or with our relationships with our homies or with our parents. It's like whatever we haven't resolved gets projected out. So if you see someone acting a certain way and you don't agree with that and you just judge them and you like ridicule them, it's like maybe that's something to look at. Because what if you don't have to agree with their behavior, but you could still love them deeply as a person, and you could be like, look, hey, what you did wasn't cool, and I don't appreciate it because of this is how it made me feel, and this is how it impacted those other people in a negative way, but I still love you deeply, and I'm still on this journey with you, and you know, I'm just letting you know what's up. Like, you know, like instead of like reacting and making quick, one of the things that I found is no one likes to be made to feel wrong, and no
No.
one likes to be told what to do. Like, I'm a natural rebel at heart. Like, I don't want to be told what to do. Like, I'll rebel against that shit. But if someone communicates to me with compassion and understanding, then I'm more likely to take on board what they say, reflect about it in my own time, and create positive change in my own way. But if someone's telling me you should do this because that was wrong and that was bad and da 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 da, it's like, fuck you. It's like, I'll
Yeah,
do what
yeah. I know,
not.
I know. I struggle with that because, you know, I've worked around like deep behavior change, alcohol and drug stuff, mental health advocacy, family and sexual violence prevention, shifting like really dominant cultural ideas around masculinity and making people feel like shit. Just like you said, makes them say, fuck off, do not talk to me. I'm going to go hang out with people who already agree with me. Whereas if you ask questions and you pose questions and don't pretend to have it all figured out yourself, people will be down to talk with you.
For
But
sure.
I get, this is a current like real frustration of mine, is that so much of trying to make the world better is actually strikes me as like counterproductive, and it seems more self-serving, like, hey, look at me, I'm doing the right thing, rather than actually genuinely sitting with a wounded person who might be a fucking piece of shit at the time or have done shitty things some time ago, and trying to help them work through their hurt to a better place, you know?
Yeah, I just look at it like taking away all judgment from things.
Yeah.
Like,
How do you do that? That's hard. It's hard
I
for
just
people.
I like zoom back, bro. So
Zoom back.
you know, like you're talking about like being in the thick of it, like being right here, and also looking at it from a point of view of um, maybe that shouldn't have happened like that, or that shouldn't be the way it is. And then when I look back, when I zoom back, I'm like, that's exactly how it should be. That's exactly perfect the way it is. Even though I don't agree with it, I don't like it, it's not how I want to be or how I want to function or live. That's perfect for that person on their journey as they are now. And if they're willing to create a shift or a change within themselves, can I help facilitate that? From a place of deep love and respect for that person on their journey, knowing that I don't have all the answers, they have the answers, and I'm just sitting with them and trying to, you know, talk to them, rather than like thinking that they're wrong and they need a shift into another way of being because how they're being is wrong. It's like I look at it like how they're being is perfect. Like the world is perfect. All the most fucked up shit on the planet is perfect, because without it, we wouldn't have all the growth and the learnings that we go through. So
That's
all
a
the
profound place to be at, though, because there'll be people watching this being like, whatever, motherfucker, you're privileged, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
What do
but
you
the
say to
thing is,
that?
like, I get it because it's like I've been through child abuse. I've been through losing my father when I was young. I've been like through a lot of deep darkness that I wouldn't even talk about publicly because it just wouldn't feel good to have the viewers absorb that. I've been through like wanting to commit suicide and be locked in asylums and all those different things. Like, I know what it's like to suffer. And that's why I do this work. But I also know that my deepest, darkest traumas and the things that I went through were my greatest blessings and my greatest lessons. And that allows me to be who I am today, and to help people in the way that I can help people. Because without that, I wouldn't have that understanding about myself first and foremost, and I wouldn't be able to feel other people's pain. I wouldn't be able to connect to people's people's journeys in the way that I can, because it's, bro, I feel people's pain. I know that hurt people. It's not how they want to be. It doesn't fulfill them or bring them joy. Like, there's an element of power that comes with it when hurt people, but it's not who they truly are.
Yo, that's it's a profound place to be at, man. To be grateful for all the most difficult things that you've experienced, you know, rather than being bitter about them. I love that. That's really, really inspiring. I feel lifted. Thank you.
I would say to people, like, if someone listens to that and they still like, fuck you, I'm not there yet. Like, my father was abusive. I went through this. I'm a victim. Fuck them. Then you have a right to feel like that. I'm not saying that you should just be all forgiveness and love and light. That's a journey. That's a journey. And that took me years to come to that point.
Yeah, word.
Of forgiveness for myself and forgiveness for all the people that hurt me. So if you're on that journey right now of self-forgiveness and forgiving people who have hurt you in your life, you have a right to be angry. You have a right to feel the way that you do, and know through giving yourself permission to feel those emotions, you're going to start to move through it, process it, and understand why it happened and the lessons in it.
Hey, Lucas, we're about out of time. Anything you want to, what's next for you? Anything you want to finish up on?
Next is up for me is where we'll be traveling, we'll be running workshops. At the moment, we're just waiting for the borders to kind of open to New Zealand. So we could get into New Zealand, but we couldn't get out of New Zealand. So we're waiting for that to open. Same through Australia, different borders to open. And as soon as they are, we'll be traveling, we'll be running workshops throughout Australia, throughout New Zealand. And if you're interested in trying this experience out for yourself, the breathwork that we've been talking about, our workshops are 4 hours long. They are a deep experience of transformation and healing. And we never claim to be healers, but we can definitely take you and guide you into the space where you can have your own deep releases. You can let go of some shit and you can understand some stuff. So you will walk away feeling like you got the most out of that experience if you give yourself permission to go all the way in. So.
Okay, dude. Well, you're gonna get the vaccination when it comes out so you can travel?
I don't think there's enough research on it, bro. Like, I've seen all the people that are getting bowel palsy and the different things that are happening, and I would like more research to be there. So we'll see
what happens. Well, Rick, whatever happens, I hope that you can be back down here with us, or we can come over and hang out with you. And
I'll be back in New Zealand for sure. I'm looking forward to it. We've already got so many people that want to like jump on board and do this workshop. So it's just a matter of timing.
Yeah, word, brother. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out to share with everyone today, man. It's been it's been really uplifting listening to you. And it reminds me to continue to work on myself and keep shifting my perspective to continue to be grateful even for adversity. And where can people find you just before we sign off?
I'm not really on, well, I am on Facebook, but I'm not really using that much. But you can find me on Instagram. It's LUKIS MAC, Lucas Mac. And that's probably where I post the most content, is on Instagram. But yeah, I'd say that's the spot for sure.
All right, Lucas Mac. All right, my man. I'll put that in the description anyway, brother. All the love. And
thank you for giving me the opportunity to just talk and to be with you here. It's been dope.
Yeah, it's been real fun, bro. Yeah, okay. Let's do it again soon. I feel like there's a whole lot more we could unpack.
Yeah, much love.
Okay, brother. Peace.